So the country that was selected for me for my final project was India. So a little bit of a precursor about India before I get into the sport aspect is India's is the second most populous country in the world with nearly 1.4 billion people. India's population accounts for 17.7% of the world's total population. They have an extremely high population density, which is the number of people per square mile. They average 1,202 people per square mile. The difference between India and China is China's population density is a little bit lower because they have more land. So India actually has a higher population density. India has a total of 41 cities with a population of 1 million or more. So here's a little bit of more information about the state of India in terms of population. So at the top right of the PowerPoint slide, you will see that 4 stages of growth for population. So stage 1 would be expanding, and you see at the bottom they have a higher population of younger people, and it thins as you get older. This would be a country that's in stage 1 that has like more of a poor healthcare system, not as many old people, stuff like that. For stage 2, they have a little bit more old people. It thins towards the top, but they still have a lot of young people in the country. Stage 3 is stationary. This is kind of where the United States is at. They have kind of an more even amount of young people and old people. They're still growing, but not as much as an expanding country. In stage 4 is the contracting stage, and that's a country with zero or negative growth. This would be a country like Japan, for example. You can see at the bottom it's a little thinner. There's not as many young people. There's a lot of middle-aged people, and there's a greater amount of old people, more significant than the stage 1 and stage 2. So at the bottom, you'll see India at 1989 and India at 2019. So in India in 1989, they look a lot like a stage 1 expanding, and in 2019, they look more like a stage 2 expanding. So I would say India today is more of a stage 2. You can see there's still a high population of young people, not as many old people, but I think India is rapidly catching up to a lot of stage 3 countries. The ethnic groups in India, there's a lot of Indo-Aryans, which would be in the northern part of India. They are a mix between European and native Indian people. The Dravidians in the south of India are it's a lot more native Indians, a lot of historical families down south. The Mongoloid and other groups makes up the other 3%. The Mongoloids are people from Mongolia, and other groups would be like people who have migrated towards India looking for opportunities. The languages spoken in India are Hindi and English. These are their main two and official languages, so a lot of officials can speak both. There are many languages spoken in so many different dialects just because of the massive amount of people that do live in India. There's many different religions in India, but an interesting fact is 94% of the world's Hindus live in India. India is where Hinduism was created, and it's a very, very, very popular religion in India. It was more so popular before the British colonization, but is still very popular today. India has Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, and other folk and local religions. So the non-urban parts of India is where you'd find those folk and local religions. Has the second largest amount of Muslims in one country behind Indonesia, just because of the massive population. And as I mentioned earlier, Hinduism was born in India as well as Buddhism. So there's a lot of cultural and religious background in India. The gender roles in India has never really been equal, I would say. They have a history of gender inequality. This can be attributed to principles found in Islam and Hinduism. So, according to Islam, in the Quran, a woman would be subservient to a man, and in Hinduism, in the caste system, a woman is also subservient to a man. India has also had a history of infanticide, infanticide, child and arranged marriages. So infanticide is where you've heard about this in China probably, where if the baby isn't a male, it would be um, disposed of or let go, and a lot of child and arranged marriages, which was traditional in the caste system. Sati is a practice in Hinduism where um, a a widow would be buried with their dead, or burned alive at their dead husband's funeral. It's very, um, we view it as a very sick practice, but it used to be very popular in India. And in India, I would say marriage equals inequality and oppression. Um, this isn't like a lot of marriages we see in the Western world. It's more of a woman is subservient to a man and a woman takes care of the children, um, type of thing. Some popular sports in India. Cricket would definitely be the most popular sport in India. I'd probably say it's the sport they're best at on the national stage. Football, we're talking about soccer. It's just the most popular sport in the world. It's also popular in India. Kabaddi is a sport that we don't play here. It's a 7-on-7 team sport game. Badminton is their fourth popular, followed by hockey. This isn't ice hockey, it's field hockey. Followed by tennis, wrestling, boxing, motorsports, Formula One racing, other types of racing, and basketball. The importance of sport in India is very similar to the importance of sport in America. It unites a diverse amount of people, and India definitely has a diverse, more of a melting pot culture, kind of like the United States. It serves as an inspiration for younger people and older people alike with inspirational stories that come with sport. I would say the three most important um, qualities that sport would instill would be the ethics of the sport, hard work, and practice. Women in sport. Since the year 2000, India has seen a large increase of the women in sport, and I believe this is attributed to the fact that a lot of Western ideals and ideologies have been taken up in India, and they're moving away from the caste system as time goes on. So, three of the most popular women in sport of India. Sania Mirza, she played tennis. She turned pro at the very young age of 16 and has dominated the doubles world ever since. She was number one doubles player in the world for 91 weeks. She has 6 major titles, 3 in doubles and 3 in mixed doubles. So she doesn't play individual, but she does play doubles, and she's very dominant. Midhali Raj, cricket. Like I said, cricket is the most popular sport in India, and Midhali Raj is probably the most notable cricket player. She is captain of the women's cricket team. She's the highest scorer in women's international cricket, and she is the only Indian cricket captain to lead the team to a World Cup final twice. PV Sindhu, badminton. She was only 21 when she became the first and only Indian to win an Olympic gold medal in badminton at the Olympics. She won the silver medal and became the youngest athlete from India to make the podium. So, the future of women's sports in India, based on my research, women's sports will only grow with the passing of time. Like I said, globalization will, Western ideas will spread to India, and it'll help the the growth of women's sports, and the spreading of Western ideas will help the growth of women's sport. I think the more people that accept that women can play sports and women can be accomplished, I think that's when sport will ultimately grow within India. And those are the links to the resources I used. I just want to thank you for your time to listen to my presentation today, and have a Merry Christmas.